Hello and welcome to the Training Court, a Pokemon TCG podcast relating to anything and everything Pokemon TCG. Jay here, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts Alex and Andy. Unfortunately, Kath is not here this week. She's been called into work, but you know, her knowledge will be missed. I'm sure she'll be shouting at the screen when she finally watches this. So, hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah, good.
Good, yeah, good, thank you.
Good. So, episode 3. Last week we caught up on obviously the Orlando regionals. We've got another one coming. Not regionals. We've got another tournament coming this weekend. But before we start going into the news, because there's been plenty of it to discuss, I thought we'd again, as usual, catch up on what we've been playing this week, who we've been playing this week, and where we've been playing this week. So I'm going to start with Andy,
As you always do.
as I always do.
So this week not played as much Pokemon as I did last week. Did go to Geek Retreat on Saturday with Jay. Brought Hisuian Zoroark V-Star again because I'm adamant to get this deck working well. Won 2 out of 3, so wasn't too bad. Came 5th overall. Was gonna obviously go to Fanboy 3 with you on Monday, but unfortunately some work came in that I had to do, that needed doing, so had to miss out.
No problem. So in terms of the Zoro deck, it's the Turbo Zoro deck, isn't it?
Yeah. I've online now. I've added Professor Burnett just to literally take the Gengars out of the equation, stick them in the discard pile. Because sometimes you don't get the Gatejaw Bog on the first turn, or sometimes the second turn, and that just hampers the speed of the deck basically. So with them at least in the deck, at least you know there's 30 damage on each of them coming out for them to spread. Hopefully, if you get a damage pump, spread it out over the board.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Zoro overall doesn't lose anything in rotation. I believe it's all relatively new gear, new equipment, new Pokemon, new everything. So
it's just the Pokemon searches that we lose, but
yeah,
obviously we're getting.
If anything, it could gain. Maybe it could work well with the Gardevoir EX if you rare candy it into the Gardevoir and just.
Yeah. The only problem is if some of the new cards are get your Pokemon and put it on the bench, but like things like Gatejaw Bog, it has to be placed from onto the bench from that's the issue.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll find a way around it. I think it's quite prevalent in Japan at the minute, so
yeah. Just make sure you don't come across any picnic baskets or whatever that card is.
Yeah.
Just for everyone else's reference out there, this card is a new card coming in, Scarlet and Violet, and basically it heals 30 damage to both yours and your opponent's benched and active Pokemon. So apparently in Japan, a tournament, I think a guy was playing Zoroark, and the guy played that, and he just had nothing. He had absolutely nothing to then do at all, because you can hit 30 with, I think, is it just 30 for the base damage?
Yeah.
DTE.
Yeah, with void return, but if you've got a double turbo on, you're in
10. Yeah.
That's only with the V as well. So if you've got,
I could see maybe a lot of one-offs of that, I guess, especially if Zoroark is prevalent. But no, it's good. It's a good deck, and it seems to be. I like it, and it seems to be sticking around. So it's time for it to get its turn, because I think overshadowed by Lost Box and Lugia definitely, and Gutra even, to be honest. So, but hey ho, Alex, what have you been playing this week?
So I've been sticking with Rotom V-Star, just as a fun thing to play, to be honest. And haven't really made much changes from the last time. I did add in a Cramorant because I thought, well, I'm getting things in the Lost Zone pretty easily. And I need something to help me beat the 1 prizes and Miltank as well, which if I do come up against a Miltank, then it's basically won because I don't have any single prize attackers. So yeah, and it's really fun. It's really fun to play, and I've been I posted on Instagram because I made a big blunder with my Rotom, and I was playing against as a VMAX with 330 HP. Can't remember which one it was. And I did the math wrong, and I ended up only doing 320. And then I was like, right, okay. And then actually, one thing that I realized, because I've got the Sky Seal Stone in, I've got like a load of them in because it is for the attack. But I put the Sky Seal Stone in to take 4 prizes, and obviously I didn't do it anyway. But I used the Rotom V-Stars V Power instead of using the Sky Seal Stone, because I was just scrolling like these attacks. And he's got his attack, then he's got the V-Star power, then he's got the V-Star attack on the card, on the item card. I accidentally used the V-Star power. So I was like, right, I only had like 3 cards in hand because that was useless.
And
One of them was
you have to remember to use the ability, V-Star
so
ability
I didn't know
before you attack.
Yeah, I didn't know that until that. So I read the card. Well, maybe we can talk about it. But I read the card, and it said that use this if you use this during your turn, you can use it. But yeah, I thought that it was just automatically if you had it on. No. Yeah, I didn't realize that. So yeah, fair enough. So anyway, that happened.
That one for next week.
Yeah. Actually, I do need to get a single of that. I've not found one of them at all in Crown's Den. I do need to get a couple of them.
I think I've got one. I think I've pulled one. That's it.
I've got loads of the other ones, Forest Seal Stones, and I've pulled loads of those, Earthen Seal. But yeah, no. So I've been playing Rotom, and yeah, it's fun being able to hit like 700 damage if you do the math right.
Well, it depends your definition of fun. Because I played with Andy at Geek Retreat on Saturday, and I played Lugia. I went back to Lugia, and I know that there's a player at our local who is playing Rotom. So I just thought, knowing my luck, I'll come against him. And obviously I've got he's got the type advantage. Lugia weak to electricity, lightning, electricity. So I thought, right. So I changed the makeup of the deck a bit. So I took out the Stoutland because Lost Box isn't really prevalent at our local. I think only one person plays it, and since he went to Liverpool, he's only been playing Mew. So
Sean.
He's so Sean's not been playing Lost Box. So Lost Box isn't prevalent. So I replaced Stoutland V with Galarian Zapdos V, and I put a Stone Energy in there, and I thought, yeah, this will be fantastic if I come up against him. At least I've got something to combat him, and I also put Dunsparce in as well to try and get rid of that obviously type advantage. Went well, won my first 2 matches, absolutely fine. Then in the final, both of us had won 2, so we came up against each other, and it was a bit rough actually. The first game, he won because I prized 2 Archeops, and I only ran 3, so I couldn't get 2 going. And then by that time, he'd already taken 2 prize cards. He was already too far ahead in the prize card race, so I decided to scoop. Second game, absolutely smashed him. He just couldn't get a V-Star going because I was able to keep getting his Rotom Vs and then getting rid of them before he was able to get them in evolve them and use their abilities. And then the third game, I just again started really, as Lugia does. It bricks. When it bricks, it bricks. It bricks pretty bad. And I also prized Galarian Zapdos V. So, and I didn't play Hisuian Heavy Ball, didn't play Peonia, didn't do any of that. So, and I only managed to get one Lugia out, and he just kept bossing it up. So I wasn't able to even get a Lugia V-Star going. So I just scooped the last match as well. But yeah, it's a good, Rotom's good. I quite like it. It's not got a massive amount of health, though, has it? It's got about 240, 250. So
250.
Is it 250? Yeah. So it's not
got
a
massive. It's low.
It's very low.
It's just a glass cannon.
But it hits hard.
The second lowest from
Vulpix.
Vulpix is
240. Yeah.
I think that's 240. Yeah. I think they missed a massive trick when they didn't go from Vulpix to Alolan Ninetales V-Star. But hey ho.
They've never evolved the V to a different V-Star, have they?
Yeah, no, they've not. Well, it would have been good if they had a Ninetales V and then a V-Star.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would have been better. Maybe it would have been, because there's not been a good Ninetales card since, I want to say, Rebel Clash.
Yeah, the one that can copy any of your opponent's attacks.
Yeah, I think it's quite good, that one.
That is a good card, yeah.
I looked at trying to get one for a Charizard deck because I thought that, with an Entei would be really good as well. But hey ho. But yeah,
got smashed off when we were playing Team Challenge. I got smashed by a Ninetales.
Yeah, yeah. They were good, but hey ho, they're gone. Well, end of March they'll be gone, and the next month. So, but yeah, well, great to hear. We're all still playing. I think we're looking. I think our local are doing a gym leader challenge this weekend, and unfortunately, I don't think any of us got time to get a GLC deck ready. I've started looking at building one maybe for next month, because they do once a month now. So yeah, thinking of getting one ready for next month, but not a chance. I think we're looking at maybe doing some tabletop games, which I think would be really good to try for you guys out there, just to a little bit more content. We do appreciate everyone listening and watching the podcast. We're trying to do a bit more. I think the Twitch is ready to go, and so is obviously and maybe some more YouTube videos and some shorts, etc. So we're going to keep trying to get some variety there. So okay, well, it's been great.
And we're also releasing on Podbean as well from next week. We'll do that. We just need to set up.
Yeah. I was going to probably leave that for the outro, but yeah.
Oh, okay, fine.
It's okay. It's done now.
It's done.
Yeah.
But there has been but there has been a fair bit of news since the past week, really, since we last spoke. I'd say the biggest shake-up in terms of competitive element is the change of point system for the CP, so championship points that are required for players earning decent and high positions in the regionals. They get CP points, and that you can use them to go towards getting their invite to the World Championships, which this year is in Yokohama, Japan. We went, myself and Andy and Kath went to the London one as spectators last year in London. It was fantastic. I had a really, really good time. It was just 5 days of us living and breathing Pokemon.
Down when it ended, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, because it was just like 5 days of living and breathing Pokemon, and just had such a great time. And you went back to it and you're like, right, work, bills, back to normality. It's just, it was a bit boring.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I can't go to Yokohama this year, and I've not been invited yet. So I think my performance at Liverpool, I'm not going to get invited. But yeah, so
it was all about 3 points.
Yeah, Japan's on my bucket list, so.
Yeah, I definitely think. I think we were all discussing it, weren't we? We're looking potentially doing more regionals around Europe in the upcoming season. So obviously looking forward to that, and we'll share the details of that as and when we know what we're doing. But I'd love to go to Japan. I'd love to. I think we were planning on going, but before. Fortunately, I had kids, so I think the kids came along, and that changes a little bit. They're a little bit expensive, but yeah,
kids or Japan.
Both.
Oh.
both. I'm going to say you get more benefit out of kids, but I'm not sure right now. Ask me in about 10 years' time, I'll let you know.
They've moved out.
About another 18 years then. But yeah, so the big change is the fact that they've actually reduced, the Pokemon Company have actually reduced the amount of championship points needed to actually go to the World's invites. So just for reference, for 2022, for Europe, for juniors, you needed 250 points. For seniors, you needed 250 points. And for masters, you needed 350 points. So for this 2023 season, they've actually reduced that. For Europe, for junior is now 200. Senior is 200. And masters is now 250. So they've reduced it by 100 points, maybe to make it a bit more accessible for people.
Yeah.
There's obviously been a lack of tournaments. Obviously we've carried on the regionals, etc., but there's been a real lack of play tournaments and where you can actually accumulate these. I think the only one in the UK for us has been Liverpool so far. Like, for new players, I mean, I suppose this is what we want to kind of, I suppose it's quite good for us in a way, because we want to learn the game, get better at the game, and then eventually my goal would be, I'd love to actually compete at Worlds. And the amounts of people that are now competing at these regionals, like we just had Orlando, which was just short of 1,500 people. Liverpool was 750 people. Worlds is going to be massive, and they know it's massive, and they must make a fortune off of it. However, I think personally for myself, and maybe us as a group, 250 points still is out of reach, because we get to go to one tournament a year, which is Liverpool, or if it's Birmingham, depends where it is, and we've got to finish. I think I don't even know. I need to look at the rankings as well. I think you need to get ridiculously high in the top. I don't think it's even the top 50. It needs to be
like the top. Is it top 10? And you get a stipend for travel and stuff like that.
All right.
Yeah. It just, to me, I think it's completely massively out of touch, and I think it's unrealistic. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there who play. But it would be nice for it to be an achievable goal. Whereas to me, I don't think this is achievable. Do you guys agree?
No, and that is probably because there's not enough events in the UK.
Yeah.
Or even in Europe, really.
There's only one.
They need to bring back like League Cups and other tournaments to try and make up because look at how many regionals we have compared to the USA, and I know theirs is what is it?
Well, ours is 500
CP points.
Now they're counting like just Europe as the continent as America. So they're just saying like, so you have France, Germany, the UK, wherever, Sweden, I think there's one. Yeah. So they're just I think they're counting that. So it's like, well, if you have more, like I agree. Like I think there should be more UK, and that benefits us. But like everyone else who lives in other countries, then they would say, well, why can't we have like 3 in Germany and 3 in France and 3 in Spain?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We need more. We need more events, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure they're building towards it.
The League Cups, like you'd have it your locals every month or every few.
They just give you play points now. That's the thing.
Oh, right.
So as far as I'm aware, anyway, they just give you play points.
They can't regulate them as much as well.
I don't know. I mean, I've got it here now. So regional championships and special events for coming first, you get 200. So you've got to win to get just 200. It's coming second's 160, third to fourth 130 points, fifth to eighth 100 points, 9th to 16th 80 points. The lowest you can get to get points is between 129th place and 256th place, and that's 30 points.
Yeah.
So we had, if you think about one of our friends that we've mentioned in the podcast, Chris, he went to Liverpool, and he came, I think he might have come in the top 250, maybe the 250,
230 was it? Or
I can't remember. But saying that, he would have potentially got 30 points, maybe. I think he might have got 30 championship points for that. How else is he going to get the other 220?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, just doing the simple maths, 250 divided by 30, he would need 8 top 250 finishes to get the World's invite. And he's a good player. Like Chris is a good player. He's been playing for years. He's been playing for a lot longer than we have. They've been playing for I think nearly a decade now. But it's a shame, especially London would have been a great opportunity if we'd obviously been playing at the time. But I think it needs a whole new refresh, the whole system. I know there's a fellow YouTuber called Zapdos TCG who's a Belgian player. He goes to all the European tournaments. He's actually done a video recently talking about CP points and championship points, CP, and also how outdated they are, and they need a refresh. And I highly recommend people checking them out and checking that out, because we're all in agreement that we want to get to that pinnacle. I don't think I'll ever come in the top. I'll ever win a world championship. I'll either come in the top 20, come in the top 30. I don't think that'll ever happen. I'd love just the experience to actually get into worlds. Yeah. And right now it's just unobtainable. So
you should be able to get to worlds just by competing in your region. So like if you're in America or North America, you can stay in North America and you can compete there, and you don't have to travel to Europe. Where the Europeans don't have to travel to North America and South America, like so on and so forth. And like Australia, I don't know how they do it. In Australia, how do they
Their CP
manage to get
is a lot less for
right?
like Oceania.
Right, yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry,
I
I've got
mean
that. I've got that here. So yeah, for this season, for juniors, seniors, and masters, it's 200 points across the board. Whereas
Right.
last year it was 250 across the board. Middle East and South Africa, it's, last season it was 150 for junior, senior, and 250 for masters. They've reduced it to 130 for junior and senior this season, and 200 for masters. So realistically, US and Canada, it's been reduced from 500 to 350. So they've seen the biggest drop. But still 250 for Europe. For me, it's not obtainable.
For the US, that I think that makes it a bit more accessible for everyone.
Yeah.
But for people like us,
yeah, because Piper, do you remember Piper?
Pan.
Yeah, Piper. She won one of the regionals last year, didn't she? And even though she won it, she still did not have her invite for Worlds. She was at the time. She needed to win another one. Another one, and then also potentially do some of the top, at least the top 8 finish. Yeah. It's just, I mean, she probably, I think she did finish top 8, or she got some high finishes for the rest of the season. But it's just mental how you win a regional, you should be automatically invited. You've come,
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't want to dwell on it too much because we've got plenty of other stuff to talk about. But for me, as an entry level player, it's really an outdated system, and I really hope they change it, and I really hope Pokemon listen to us. But the pessimist in me is pessimistic.
This is a step in the right direction in reducing the thresholds.
Yeah, it'll be interesting next season when hopefully everything's back to normality, full normality, whether they bring it back up to the old level. So we'll have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
Fingers crossed.
No. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the next bit of news that I noticed is the next League Battle Deck has been announced. So the next League Battle Deck is going to be the Origin Form Palkia V-Star deck, and that's coming out in America May the 5th. So we usually get them a little bit later, a couple weeks later. The reason I want to talk about this one is, firstly, Origin Form Palkia was huge when it came out. Like, it was massive.
Yeah.
It dominated everywhere, didn't it? It dominated. You looked at it, I don't think it won many tournaments because everyone was running and ways to counter it. Very similar to Lugia. So everyone, yeah. So obviously, look at the ADP. Arceus, Decidueye, Flying Pikachu that Andre won Worlds with. That was built specifically to counter Arceus and also Palkia. So it's interesting that's coming out, but the reason I want to talk about it first with you guys is that deck is notorious for having the Inteleon engine. When they bring this out, what's going to replace the Inteleon engine?
It'll just be the turbo form.
And what's that?
They may still include the
for a League Battle,
no,
because battle deck, they wouldn't put deregulation Pokemon in.
Yeah, they always do standard, don't they? So
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it would be the turbo farm, what I play.
So what's that? Sorry, what's in place?
So instead of the Inteleon engine, you'll have Greninja, Bibarel, Crobat, Lumineon, Mew, Mysterious Tail Mew, then Battle VIP. The new ones play Big Charm, Cross Switchers, other Pokemon.
Not Crobat, did you say? Isn't Crobat rotating?
Yeah, Crobat, Lumineon, 2 Crobats.
Crobat rotates. Yeah. Crobat rotates.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
We know our stuff, people.
And plus Lumineon, I don't think the cards like Lumineon are not going to.
I play at the moment. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The turbo deck I play at the minute. So I don't know what you'd use to replace Crobat. So it'd be it's going to be interesting to know how it releases and what's going to be in
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah, 100%. So I think the thing that it is interesting, the Inteleon to me, when I think of a Palkia deck, I think Inteleon straight away. I just don't know how you're going to do it without it, because it's just such a good engine. However, obviously, as and when it comes out and the list gets revealed, we'll obviously discuss it on the podcast. So it'll be interesting to see, really. But usually they're not top standard, not top tier level decks. They've got usually the pieces. So, like, for example, like the Mew League Battle deck, which was released in November last year, that had like 90% of the pieces there. You just needed to change things. It didn't have enough Genesects, didn't have enough Mews. But at the end of the day, you were only paying £29 for it. So it's a good base for it. Yeah, well, yeah, it was. So, and it still is, because I use that deck and it's fantastic. But I think the thing I'm a little bit upset about is, why not an Arceus deck? Why not an Arceus Dura?
Because there isn't really, like, because Arceus decks Arceus, it pairs with so many different things that you can have the Arceus toolbox, or there's
or
so
maybe
many
Giratina Lost.
Yeah, I would took a Giratina, because that is smashing everything in Japan at the minute.
And it's
I think I did hear about Giratina.
It's like the top deck at the minute in Japan.
Than Lost Box, but Alex is refraining from talking about Lost Box for until next episode. Okay, but yeah, like I said, once we find the list, we'll obviously discuss it. But it'll be interesting, and it's a shame Inteleon Engine doesn't get one last outing, but I'm still going to use it, maybe in expanded. Still think it's an.
But Irida rotating?
Irida's not rotating. No. Irida came out with
Astral Radiance
with the Origin form Palkia, so that came out then. So okay, so moving on to the next little bit of news we've not just got league decks announced, we've also got our first battle decks. So the battle decks, you've probably seen them in the stores. Like, I think for Pokemon Go, we had the Melmetal and the Mewtwo battle decks. We've also had the Zeraora and the Deoxys. You go through them, you get the Noivern. I've had the Noivern one in the past. There's been loads of them, I think, in the past, and I think you're able to get access to them on Pokemon TCG online. So online had, I think, access to loads of historic ones, didn't you? Because I'm sure one was Charizard, which was busted. But we have our first one for the EX era for Scarlet and Violet. So again, coming out the same date as the Palkia Origin form Palkia deck, we now have the Ampharos EX and Lucario EX decks. So obviously we've not got the full breakdown, but we will let you know as and when it comes. However, Ampharos EX is a stage 2 Pokemon. It's a lightning type Pokemon, 330 HP, and for 1 lightning energy, it does Electro Ball, which is 60 damage.
Could you try again?
That's my Apple Watch. Sorry, Apple Watch is getting into the action. So you've got for 1 electric, one lightning energy, you've got Elect Ball, 60 damage, and then for 1 lightning energy and 2 colorless, you've got Lightning Tail, which is 140 plus damage, and you may discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. If you do, this attack does 100 more damage. So realistically, that is very similar to me. It's Ice Rider, isn't it? It's Ice Rider in electric form. It's basically discard these 2, but it's in a stage 2. But it's, again, chunky, 330 HP, relatively chunky. It's weakness is fighting, and yeah, it's a Pokemon EX, so it's just 2 prize cards. So 2 prize cards with 330 HP is pretty nice.
You'd pair that with Miraidon, because you're using Flaffies for that as well. So I think it'll pair. Most deck lists I've seen for Miraidon have Ampharos in.
Yeah,
just because you're using Flaffin, you might as well just have the Ampharos once you've got your electric energy sorted.
Yeah. And then for the Lucario EX deck, substantially less health. So its HP is 260. It's a stage 1 because it evolves straight from Riolu, so you get it a bit quicker. For a fighting energy and 1 colorless, it's low kick for 60 damage. And for 2 fighting energy and 1 colorless, you've got Aurasphere, which is 160 damage. But this attack also does 50 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So I prefer the Ampharos, but I can also see some benefit. The Lucario will be really good against, if for example, if you were putting these two decks against each other, Lucario with the damage it's actually still short, isn't it? 10. So it's still with the weakness, it's still 10 HP short.
You just got one of them. Is it a competitive band or what they call?
Yeah, but you've got to make sure is it less prize cards, isn't it?
Yeah,
you got to have less prize cards. But then also you could potentially knock out a Mareep on the bench or something. The way that we used to knock out Sobble, 50 damage. Mareep's usually 60 to 70. It's good. It's just not as good. I could see the Ampharos getting a lot more play than the Riolu, but it's going to be interesting to see how they run. But it's interesting to see as well because, like I said, the Deoxys Aura, the Melmetal, and Mewtwo don't see much play. They're just for the novelty, really. But potentially Ampharos could be a playable card.
I think they did. I think actually they were quite clever with the stage 2 cards because stage 2 cards are historically not great, or they're just slow to pick up. But they've given this, as far as I'm aware, what other ones are there other than Gardevoir and Ampharos that are stage 2? I can't think at the moment, but just going to those two, they've given stage 2 cards to two really, really good lines of basic and stage 1 cards, and the Curlier and the Fluffy, like two really, really useful lines. So it's not like they're just giving it to, I don't know, like giving a Gengar and like what you're gonna do with Ghastly and Haunter, really.
It's potentially good for a backup engine almost. It's the way that it was with Inteleon, where you've got your Sobble, and you've got your Drizzile with Shady Dealings. Then you know for a fact that you're going to get another Inteleon with Shady Dealings times 2. However, it was always good to have another one to do quick shooting then, so you get that extra damage. So, for example, if you've got two Fluffies on your bench and you're like, okay, this is great. And then all of a sudden you're like, actually, I can put it to an Ampharos and it can attack. And you've got the Dynamotor already there. You can put Thornton in maybe as well. There's loads of options and opinion and plays. I think it's going to be quite good. I am looking forward to the EX era. Obviously, we've got when it was announced, the whole premise of EX era was it was the comeback, wasn't it? So longer games, but with more of a comeback. So that kind of played into the stage 2s, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to more probably in a year's time when the V's have officially gone as well. That's when we'll see, I think, this format come into its absolute element. So I think I'm really looking forward to that. But it's really interesting to see those decks, because then whilst we've also got those first, the League Battle deck and the battle decks coming out for the EX era, it's also the first subset for Scarlet and Violet has actually been announced as well. So Triple Beat was finally revealed, and it's going to be releasing in Japan in March the 10th, which is less than a month away already. But obviously, the difference between how we do our sets and how Japan do theirs is we get one big set, they get two, they get a lot smaller ones a lot quicker.
It's crazy how they'll have had two full sets, and we'll not have had one by March the 10th.
It is mental. It is absolutely mental. But because obviously what they do is they split. So some elements of Triple Beat will be in our base Scarlet and Violet, and then some will be in our second set, which hasn't been announced yet. But that is due soon, isn't it? Actually, they usually do it a couple of weeks before they announce the next set. I'm sure they do it just before the set releases. They'll always announce the next set. So we're not a million miles away from actually learning what the second set is, which is scary when you think about it. But
because I still think there's going to be
our base set. Will that be made up of Scarlet and Violet, the Japan sets?
Yeah,
and some elements of Triple Beat.
Oh right, okay.
Oh really?
I'm pretty sure.
And Triple Beat. I think Triple Beat is will be the next set. Will it, or is it
the next one?
Because there's usually two sets, aren't there?
Yeah,
two Japanese sets and one English set.
Maybe actually, because actually, you know what, you might be right. Purely because we obviously we're getting Scarlet and Violet as one set, whereas Japan got Scarlet and they got Violet, and they had different Pokemon in different sets, didn't they? So we're getting that amalgamated, but they're probably actually going to withhold some back still. I'd like to think for the next set to go.
I think they've confirmed already. I think it's confirmed already that it's the two. I might be wrong, but I think it is.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it anyway already.
Yeah.
So obviously, as it was noted on Pokey Beach, I'm just going to go and share so that our viewers and listeners can also have a look to see what we're looking at. So obviously, the triple beat is in relation to the triple starters. So you've got the 3 starters. I know the Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxley, but I can't for the life of me remember the final evolutions, which is on the packet. I think one's
stage 2s.
They're the stage 2s. Masquerada, is it?
Meowscarada's
and Skeledirge.
There you go. Alex, make a note that Andy gets a gold star this week.
Gold star.
And it's just when Kath's not here as well, honestly. You have to show her. But yeah, so obviously we're going to be getting some of the cards, and it's mainly based around the starting trio from Scarlet and Violet. As you can see, these cards look phenomenal. So we're getting the art rares again of the starters, and I just love the direction of the artworks that they're going in. So obviously they're just stunning. That's my favorite. That's my favorite right there.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, but even Quaxley looks quite
good. Quaxley's my favorite starter. So.
He was your starter, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So I thought we'd have a quick talk just about these, because we've obviously got some new cards coming. Again, bog standard cards, nothing really that I'm massively excited about until we get to the EXs. So we've actually spoken about Meowscarada EX before, when it first got announced, before it got translated fully. But obviously it's a stage 2 Pokemon, HP 310. It's got an ability called Magic Bouquet. So you must discard a grass energy from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and put 3 damage counters on it. And then that is followed up with 2 colorless energy for Nail Scratch, 100 plus damage. But if your opponent's active Pokemon has already damage counters on it, this does 120 more damage. So you're basically saying, you get him up to stage 2, you do Magic Bouquet, discard an energy, put a DTE on, and then you put 30 damage counters onto 3 damage counters for 30 damage onto the Pokemon active if you want. Although it has to be benched, doesn't it? Sorry.
Yeah,
it has to be benched. So you'd have to put it on the bench and then gust it up, wouldn't you? Yeah, then you'd have to gust it up if you were. Yeah.
Or pump.
Andy and I disagreed about this one, didn't we? You thought it was really good.
Yeah.
You two disagreed about this one, didn't you? Andy thought it was really good, and Alex wasn't too keen.
So this is why. Well, do you want to say why you thought it was good, and I'll say why I thought it was bad.
Well, it's just like a quick shooting, basically. It helps you get the numbers you need. That's why.
Yeah, but you need to discard a grass energy.
Yeah, but it also doesn't need to be.
That's the same with Radiant. Is it Radiant Blastoise with Pump Shot?
It also doesn't need to be an active, Al. It doesn't need to be inactive, so it is very similar to...
Italian doesn't need to be inactive either.
Yeah, no, but it's again, amount of times, think about the amount of times you've been...
We were very
10,
spoiled
20,
with the
30.
Intelligent.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it reminds me of the Rapid Strike Inteleon V-Star, the one where you have to discard a water energy, and it just... I don't know, having that grass energy in your hand when you need to use it, essentially you want to use it every turn, which means you have to have grass energy in your hand every turn. Maybe use a training pot's being rotated. Maybe you have to it's to see worth, you have to have grass energy in your hand every turn, and you just can't.
That's probably quite easier to do with energy search, and
but then you have to have energy search in your hand every turn. I think it's one of those cards that it sounds good. It's like, okay, yeah, it helps you with your numbers, but in practice, it needs a lot of setup. It's a stage 2, and from not a very good.
So was Inteleon.
Yeah, but the Inteleon line was incredible. Sobble and the Drizzle, and then the Inteleon was incredible. Whereas these
busted. It was absolutely busted. Yeah, I don't think we'll get anything like that again.
There won't be anything ever. This is why they've done this now. You have to discard something to use it.
Really, it's what's the word? Like, it's combo. is you need to, because it wants to have energy, it wants to have damage counters on the active Pokemon in order to do an extra 120. So I guess what you need to do is you need to have an energy in hand to put 3 counters on the bench Pokemon, then have a gust in hand to gust that Pokemon up, and then basically do 250, and you have Dragonite V that already does 250 without having to do anything really.
I guess we'll see, won't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to something new. And again, I think, like Andy said, we've just been spoiled. I think we've been spoiled. And I think once a year into rotation, I think things like this may come into their own, but we'll have to see what's printed next. I also feel like they played it very safe in the base set. So we'll talk about that later. But I really
it's the
feel
power
like
creep, isn't it? That I'm sure by the next format, then there'll be the Lugia version of EX or whatever it is. And these will be nothing.
And I'll be getting it. Yeah. Okay, so moving on then, we've got the Paldean Tauros, which is a fire one. Again, decent single prizer. It's
a mech card for me, that.
Yeah, Oricorio, Fuecoco. So we move on to the Fuecoco line.
I think the Oricorio was interesting. Go back to the Oricorio.
Sorry, yeah.
The ability once during your turn, heal 20 damage from your active evolution Pokemon. That's not bad. If you partner with Radiant Serena, heal 40, and then isn't there then what's that one? The picnic thing. Picnic. And isn't there a stadium that also heals? Or no, that's the one where you can retreat.
Yeah.
It's not bad. And it's a basic.
It's just Oricorio is very much like a support Pokemon now, isn't it? If you think about Oricorio and Fusion Strike, Fusion Strike Pokemon take 20 less damage. This one heal 20 damage from your active evolution. Again, it sounds probably good in principle, but are we going to actually use it? You're going to use a bench space for the 20 heals? Probably not, and you're not using it for its damage. But then saying that Oricorio did get a play in Fusion Strike, so we'll see. Be interesting.
It's like Galarian Zigzagoon, like putting one down to do 10 damage on you on the bench on the active, or the benched rather. But that's all lots of plays. But I guess scoop up next and been rotated.
Yeah, pleasant. You'll need something new now for that. So we've got Fuecoco and obviously his line. Realistically, I want to look at Skeledirge EX. So that's 340 HP. So huge HP. So you've got for 1 fire energy, Vitality Song, 50 damage, and heal 30 damage from each of your Pokemon. And then for 2 fire energy, you've got Burning Voice, 270 damage, but this attack does 10 less damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So glass cannon, I guess. I want to say here's a bit of glass cannon. This one, it can hit really hard, but there's a lot of conditions about it. It's got a massive chunky HP, but again, water's everywhere at the moment. I think you've still got, especially when you've got Origin form, Palkia still knocking about, and you will have it. Gyarados EX is obviously in base set Scarlet and Violet, so I think it's going to be a difficult one. It doesn't make me want to run fire, but if you take damage,
but that it's the Vitality Song is quite interesting. You could actually pair that with the Oricorio and Radiant Serena, and you're healing 70 per turn, really.
But fire's not been great for a while now, though, has it?
Yeah, it's because of water, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah,
water's just been very, very strong for a long time, hasn't it? So, so moving on, we've got Paldean Tauros. Again, it seems okay. Nothing, decent single prizer, nothing substantial. But then we go to Quaxley, and we look at Quaquaval EX. So 320 HP, Lively Samba for 1 water energy, 60 damage, and switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Then your opponent switches their active Pokemon or their bench Pokemon. So 60 damage and inbuilt escape rope. And then for a water and a colorless, you got Propeller Shot, 230 damage, and put 2 energy from this Pokemon into your hand.
It's pretty good.
Oh, it seems okay. It hits hard, 230 for 2 energy. It's not bad. But it's not fantastic. I think there's going to be a lot of Miraidons running around. I think water is going to be in a rough place. Sparse is a necessity.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But then the one I really want to look at is the item cards. So we've got some really cool item cards coming out. So we've got Superior Energy Retrieval. Discard 2 cards from your hand. Put 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. I think that's awesome.
That's really good, especially as Quick Ball is rotated. You need more cards to discard.
Can you discard energy with that?
Yeah. You can't choose a card you discarded with this effect, though. You can, you can.
So you can't discard.
No, you can't. No.
You can discard energy, but you can't get it back. I think
you can't get it back. So yeah, no.
There was some kind of condition. So if you've got a clogged hand or something, like you couldn't just discard the energy
and get it back. Well, you wouldn't need to. Would there be pointless to discard the energy and get it back into your hand?
Yeah.
I think it's great for late game, isn't it? Really, where you've got loads of ultra balls, maybe some nest balls, and all you want is energy, and discard them and get them back into your hand. I think it's great. It's getting it back into your deck though. If you've got a deck search ability, that's going to be the difficulty. Especially with Marnie rotating out. Marnie was great. I suppose you've got Judge, Judge. Roxanne, depending on the level of so if you can get it back in, but I think that's going to be really good. Dendra,
is it just is it just basic energy or is it any energy? Just basic.
Put basic energy, yeah. So then we've got Dendra. So put 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck, then draw cards until you have 5 cards in hand. You can't use this card if this is the last card in your hand. So they're actually putting the conditions now, aren't they, on them? Because we've had, how many times have we had questions like, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? Putting 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck, then drawing 5 cards. Can you see the benefit?
Up to 5 cards.
You can have draw
until you have
5 cards in hand.
Yeah, if you have a small hand. But I can't see it being better than, say, Serena, because Serena thins your hand and then draws until you have 5, so you have a better way of.
You're not discarding with Serena, whereas this you're actually putting it back in. So again, if you wanted the energy back in for, say, like a Lugia deck or something, you wanted energy back in, you put it back in.
You put
it.
The next one I think is going to be busted. Clavel. Search your deck for up to 3 basic Pokemon that have 120 HP or less, and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck. I think that's going to be busted. That's going to be good.
Yeah.
Especially with no quick walls and stuff like that now. I think that's going to be quite good. Putting things back.
Early game, I think it will be.
Yeah.
Just to be contrary, do you think people will play a Pokemon search supporter though? Do you think over all the ball searches, do you think people will make room out of their judges and whatever they need in their deck?
I suppose it's like Adventure Discovery now, isn't it? I suppose it's
Adventure Discovery doesn't see much play. It doesn't seem too.
No, it doesn't really. No.
Well, that's because we've got quick balls and all the others.
Yeah.
It depends really. If you want, say, it's not basic, is it? I was thinking then Luminion. If you want a Luminion in hand, it depends if there's the basic Pokemons where abilities have to be from hand to bench as opposed to deck to bench. That's where the big.
Because most basic are below 120. Like you might as well just use level balls, really.
Yeah, I think level balls will come back into prevalence as well. So I think they're going to be quite important.
Level balls up to 90, isn't it?
That's up to 90. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't even use it on Regis. You can't even use it in Regis because they're all on 30.
Yeah.
No. Be interesting to see what this is used for. I think it'd be good. Be good pre-release maybe. I think that'd be quite good. Pre-release. Yeah. And then we've got a stadium, which is Artisan Town. So once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for 1 basic Pokemon, excluding Pokemon that have a rule box, and play it onto their bench. Then that player shuffles their deck. This stadium stays in play when you play it. Discard. Yes. We know that. Blah blah blah. So that's just handy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be great.
That's really good. Yeah. That's really good. Yeah.
I think that's going to be really good for setting up engines and one-offs. Things like Pumpkaboos.
Getting your Luminions and not having to go straight to the bench.
Actually, saying that Pumpkaboo
Luminion's rule box Pokemon.
Luminion's rule box Pokemon, and Pumpkaboo needs to come from hand again to Bumper Stadium needs to go hand to bench. Again, it's just about pumping numbers up, isn't it? If you've got that, I think at the start it might see some play. Again,
good for your Mareeps and stuff like
setting up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your your alts, your etc. etc. So it's good to set up, I think. Be interesting to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing some results. I think that you already shared a link today, which we'll obviously probably discuss next week, about some results already coming from Japan and what kind of decks are looking like. So I think we'll be looking, we'll talk about that next week and look forward to that. So yeah, I'm really excited. Luminous Energy, special energy. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides every type of energy, but only provides one energy at a time.
Now, do we think they've brought this out
because of Lugia?
Lugia.
Yeah, because it says if the Pokemon this card is attached to has any other special energy attached to it, this just provides one colorless energy instead. So you can only have one limited. So it's basically, for example, like Quaquaval up above. If you had, two of these, you attach one's water. And then and then you can use that as water, and then you just got to use another energy, so
you just have to use basic energy with this,
or you could put two. You could basically put two on, but only one will provide the actual energy of choice, which is okay. But if you need two, like obviously you look at things like Amazing Ray of Veltal, where you need three Aurora energies, and then you need a double colorless, a double DTE.
Yeah, it also has not going to suit play anymore. I don't think
any play at all. But then they have been drip feeding more and more coming out. There's the low kicks and Nimble have been released. So again, nothing massive, but maybe good for Gym Leader Challenge or potentially pre-release. So you've got the Nimble, which is just a 50 HP basic grass Pokemon, does 30 damage for one grass. Flip a coin if Tails attack does nothing. Pretty bog standard for quite a weak basic Pokemon. And then you've got the low kicks, which is 120. It does for one grass energy, assault kick, so it's 30 damage, but if it's a Pokemon evolved from Nimble during your turn, it does an extra 100 damage, so 130. And then for a grass and colorless speed attack, 70 damage. Again, I think with Dark maybe being, I mean, there's been talks of Turbo Darkrai coming back again because of that's not losing much at all either. That deck either. You're looking at decks that aren't good now because you can't beat the meta, but once the meta has gone and Lugia and certain archetypes have gone, all of a sudden probably less prevalent archetypes will come a bit more into focus, such as Darkrai. So Dark might be quite good. This for just a stage one Pokemon does 130 damage if you evolved it that turn. Double it for weakness, 260. That could take down, I think, 10 HP away from taking down a Darkrai. But again,
people are using Tyranitar as well now in Lugia decks.
Single strike Tyranitar is
and that's Dark, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So that again, kind of in terms of Lugia decks, they're looking at getting away from all the current energies which we've got, such as obviously powerful, capture, all the good ones that are going away, and they're looking at other stuff now. So you've got Impact, which Alex talked about in episode 1. You've got single strike energies. You've got fusion strike energies. So I've seen Meloetta builds of Lugia. So it's going to be interesting to see what it settles at. But again, I just think they're just drip feeding these Pokemon. Again, it's new Pokemon. I think they're giving them a bit more airtime because they're new Pokemon. I don't think they're actually very playable. But then going from new Pokemon to old Pokemon, they've also released Magikarp and Gyarados in terms of the basic Pokemon. So Magikarp, 30 HP for 1 water energy, skill jump, 10 damage, flip 2 coins. If both heads, it does 20 more. And then you've got Gyarados for stage 1, HP 180 for 3 energy, which is 1 water, 2 colorless, Revenge Storm, 80 plus damage. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, this does 100 more damage, so 180, which is pretty good. And then for 2 water and 2 colorless, Berserker Tackle, 200 damage, but this Pokemon does 50 damage to itself. So again, it's pretty much standard Gyarados, really, isn't it? Hits hard, but it takes a lot of powering up to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, late gamer, that'd be quite good if you were playing against a fire deck, which again, the only fire Pokemon really to see some play at the moment are Radiant Charizard. in Lost Box and Lugia's. So yeah, I don't know what it's for, but
it'll be good as a single prize deck, I think.
Yeah, maybe again Gym Leader Challenge. I think so. A lot of these cards are really, really good and prevalent for Gym Leader Challenge. And then the last card.
Sorry, just the Magikarp. It's like the current Magikarp and Gyarados. There's one where you have to get them all into the discard, which is fun, but it's not going to set the world on fire. But that's
just a probably better than this one, to be honest.
I think.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So then, just as I mentioned before, we've got one more, which is Jet Energy. So this was literally posted yesterday at time of recording. So Jet Energy is a special type of energy, and as long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it gives colorless energy. When you attach this card from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon, switch that Pokemon with your active. Quite good. I think that's quite good. I think that's quite good.
If you want to get some out the active.
If you want to get delay.
Yeah,
if you want to delay
extra switch card. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's good. Imagine if you
good in Lost Box. Good in Lost Box. Because keep on, let's go.
But just imagine, how many times have you started, say Lugia decks, or even, just not even Lugia decks, just every type of deck where you start with the one card you do not want. You're talking,
what as well?
Like stuff like Radiant Charizard, Crobat, Luminion. Stick that onto something else, and you just swap, and you get it out of the, you get it out of there. I think it's quite good.
And you don't have to play a energy card to retreat as well. Sometimes you have to waste an energy card to retreat, and then you bring your Pokemon up, and you still need to attach, but you can't because you've already attached. This way you get to
it's the other way around.
Lost Box, yeah.
It's the other way around.
Yeah, but it's like,
but you still get the benefit of the energy, don't you?
Yeah, you don't discard the energy when you bring it. Yeah, It's good. It's a really good card actually. Pair it with Raihan or something, and yeah.
No, Raihan comes from discard, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you attach and then put another one from Raihan and Fluffy, and you can have six energy and
yeah. But yeah, we're starting to see a few more special energies come out now, which is good because I was a bit worried that my poor Lugia deck was getting a bit thin. So it's going to be good. So obviously Triple B, again, like I mentioned beforehand, it's releasing in Japan on March the 10th. It's going to be most likely part of our second set, which I believe is coming out in the end of June 2023. Which is mental. We're talking about the second set already, and we've not even had our first one yet. We were talking about allocations for our booster boxes and the ETBs, etc. earlier on today, and we're still a month and a half away, which is mental because it feels like we've been talking about Scarlet and Violet for a long time. So, but yeah, we're looking forward to seeing them in English as well, and then any more that come out, we'll obviously report and we'll discuss on the podcast. And we'll also get to see how they are actually being used in Japan as well. So we see kind of what decks are being used, and then we can discuss, the benefits, etc. Because there's a lot more players out there that are a lot more knowledgeable than ourselves. We may have missed something completely obvious whilst we're looking at these today. So I think it's always good to review and keep looking at it. But we're getting to that part of the show where we get to one of our favourite parts of the show, to be fair. It's usually Kath that discusses these cards. However, as she's not with us, who's taking the mantle today?
I'll do it.
So yeah, okay, brilliant. So this section is RTFC, and I will let Andy explain what that is and the card he wants to read.
So RTFC stands for Read the Flipping Card. Make of that what you will. And this week's card is Cancelling Cologne. Until the end of your turn, your opponent's active Pokemon has no abilities. This includes Pokemon that come into play during that turn. Now, I've had a couple of issues with this card where I've not read it properly, or I've not taken notice of it properly. One example was trying to obviously hit a benched Pokemon, but they've got a Manaphy down. So the misplay I did was, obviously I've not taken notice of the card, played the Cancelling Cologne before I've bossed the Manaphy. and then had to like dig and dig to try and get the Manaphy in the active. But I've obviously wasted the card. If I couldn't get it back out. I couldn't get a Boss or a Gus to get it back into the active. So yeah, Manaphy is the main one that everyone uses that card for.
Or Galarian Wheezing. Galarian Wheezing shuts off abilities. Galarian Wheezing shuts off abilities. So that would be helpful. Duraludon, if you're playing a Lugia deck.
Yeah, I have used it against Duraludon.
Yeah.
And you Klefki? Is it called Klefki? Yeah. The one that's like keys. Yeah. There's loads of annoying cards that shut off abilities that have to be in the active position or do something in the active position. So yeah.
I think if it wasn't, imagine how many people would run 4. They'd run 4
if it was just
anything. Shut off abilities for your opponent that turn. I think it'd be absolutely busted. But it's frustrating because I again, we've spoken about this beforehand, but I was umming and ahhing about putting Cancelling Clone in my deck for regionals. And the night before, I decided to take it out, and then I came against an Arctura, and I had no help whatsoever. I didn't play Path to the Peak or anything like that, but I wish I'd played it. But maybe a one-of isn't really pertinent enough, if that makes sense. So
I play 2 in Zorro now.
Yeah. Make sure you get them into the active, though.
Yeah. Trust me, I've learned my mistake.
Okay, guys. Well, I think that kind of near enough wraps it up now for this week. We've obviously had lots of news. We've got more coming out. I think it's a really exciting time to be a Pokemon TCG player and fan. There's a lot of information coming out for Triple Beat in Japan. There's a lot of meta shifts and changes. We've obviously not even really discussed the fact that we've got the OCIC this weekend. So for all our Australian fans out there, enjoy. We've got, looking at some of the casters that I follow on Twitter, you've got Frosty Caribou and I think Ross from Pokemon Radio, Pokemon TCG Radio. He's going as well. So you've got some big names in there, and it looks like it's going to be a very, very, very big tournament. And it's the last one before Scarlet and Violet releases? It's the last tournament. Do we have more? I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to double check that.
I think there's one in Sweden or Germany, maybe. I can't remember.
We'll have to have a look and confirm. We should know it, but we don't. So, but it'd be interesting because it's the first international championship of the season, is it? Or no, there was one in ignore me. There was one in.
There was a Latin America one.
There was a Latin America. So Sao Paulo.
LAIC. Yeah.
So it's the first one of the year. I can say that because I'm sure that LAIC was last year. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. So just quick one. Because I don't know who's going to win, but what deck do you reckon will win, Al?
It's pre-rotation, isn't it?
Yes, this weekend.
Yeah, because it's this weekend. Yeah. I think the Vikavolt. I think Vikavolt's going to win again. Or Giratina.
Okay, Andy.
Or Lugia.
For me, it's probably Lugia.
And I'm going to go off field. I'm going to say Hisuian Gudra.
Oh.
Yeah, I think the big gooey tank. Yeah, the big gooey tank. I think might do it. I think everyone's
Lost Box Gudra.
Yeah, it is Lost Box. It's got loads of outs. It's got loads of draw. It's got a tank. It's tanky as anything. You put parasols against your Veltels. There's not.
Yeah, but Giratina just knocks it out though.
Not many people are playing Giratina yet because it's with pre-rotation. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm going for Gudra. Andy's going for I forgot what you're going for Lugia. Yeah, and then Alex is going for Vikavolt.
Watch it in you now, though.
Watch it, yeah.
Yeah, that's true,
always an opportunity, isn't it? There's always an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's just such a busted deck still. It's still so busted. So, I actually haven't even thought what I'm playing on Monday, Andy. Thinking of playing Mew again on Monday.
Not even thought of what we're playing on Saturday.
I have, don't worry. But I'll let you know and the viewers know as well. Right, guys. Well, yeah. Thank you again for listening and watching. Really appreciated. We love doing this every week. We talk about Pokemon TCG on a daily basis, and it's really good to get in front of a camera and just chat more TCG, Pokemon TCG, especially with you guys. So I want to thank everyone again for listening, watching. All our socials are, Alex.
So the YouTube is Training Court TCG, and the Instagram is also Training Court TCG, and the Twitter is Training Court. And I think we're on Twitch as well. Twitch is Training Court TCG, is it?
Yeah.
We haven't started streaming it. We will do soon. And then Podbean for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Alex said. Yeah.
80. I had a look today. 80% of the people who watched the last video, weren't subscribed. So
subscribe.
If you can
please like and subscribe.
Please like, smash that like button.
Are we doing one of those? Oh, please like and subscribe. Yeah. But yeah, please do like and subscribe.
Leave us a comment if there's anything you want to add in, or if you think that make it better, make the podcast better. Just let us know.
Yeah, 100% agree. And yeah, please do. We like I said, we talk about it every day, all day, every day. Why not join in with us on any of our socials? Because we're always posting, playing, and chatting away. So please join us on any of our socials, as Alex mentioned above. Give our best to Kath, Andy. She was missed this week.
She poked her head in before. She's done now. So.
I'm sure she'll be back for next week. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone again for watching, listening, and we'll see you all next week.
See ya. Thanks for listening.
See ya. Bye.